Hey, dude.
What you doing?
Hanging out at the tower. Getting a lot of shit for it, too.
You know what, though? I told that bald blue bastard Zavala I'm not going out there till there's something worth doing.
It's insane to put more bullet holes in the piece of Swiss cheese my former beautiful body has already become.
What? Don't you, completely heal each time?
Time you get resurrected?
Yeah, but losing my powers got me to thinking, man.
I'm not worrying about dying, but with the Traveler alive and all,
What does it need us for?
it took down Ultra Gaul in 2 seconds. So what if it decides to start putting us in a power allowance program or something like that?
Is that why we're all weaker now? If it's reducing power now, you know it's only a matter of time before we're all shut down completely.
And that's how it always goes.
Don't you think you're reaching a little bit here?
Have you seen the number of Guardians left?
How about when I fly into a strike, more often than not,
I'm fighting alone for a good portion of it.
the tower's empty, my friend.
Look around. Something serious is happening here.
It's only a matter of time before those bullet wounds aren't going to heal.
You hear what I'm trying to tell you?
All right. Calm down.
I'm sure everything's going to be fine after the next update. Or the one after that.
Is there one after that one? Maybe that's the one.
Point is, I highly doubt the Traveler is going to take your place or get rid of you guys.
What makes you so confident of that? I'm sitting here watching it happen firsthand.
How would you know better than me? Because if they did, they would be forced to explain what your Traveler actually is and where it came from.
I've read through your grimoire pretty extensively at this point, and especially after this last campaign.
I'm pretty sure they have no clue what either of those things are themselves yet, so... Oh. Yeah. I guess you're right.
Wow, thanks, man. You really made me feel better. I'm just having the worst day thinking about all this when you called.
I'm really glad you did. Speaking of, what was it you called about?
I'm sorry, I was just so caught up with all this, I didn't even think to ask you. Oh, no problem, man. I'm happy to help.
I just wanted to show you all the new free stuff we got from the Lotus. I got a new skin, new primary, new secondary. I got a melee weapon. I also got a brand new Sindana. And all the slots just for playing the game.
I can't wait for Bro to come this weekend so I can show off my color scheme, which I'm in love with.
Is this gear to die for, or what?
All right, I'm going to go. What? I'm over here questioning if I'll even exist in a few months.
And you're calling me to show off all the cool-ass stuff you guys are getting?
Again? We didn't even get a Christmas gift this year. In fact, we're not getting anything new until I don't even know when.
You want to know why? Because it's not on the roadmap, man. It's not on the damn map. And the map is all that matters.
And there's nothing new on this stupid map. Fuck. Hey all, Siege here, and today I want to talk about one of my favorite mechanics in video game storytelling. And that's when they explain a significant in-game process with something that stays true to the world and the lore itself. The best example I can give, and one of the main reasons I invested so deeply in the lore, was Destiny's death mechanic. Even though you died in the game, the ghost would resurrect you, making the constant deaths I had been so used to experiencing in other games and wondering how to account for them story-wise actually make sense for the first time. Now, I'm sure it might seem like a small thing to some, but for me, it was mind-blowing. It showed a real appreciation for the lore and the player's immersion, as taking the time to explain seemingly insignificant aspects of the game to draw the player deeper into the world can sometimes make all the difference between just enjoying a game and truly loving it. Like loving it enough to want to talk about it to other people who neither know or care about what you're talking about. That kind of love. What's that? Why aren't I on my ship? Oh, well, I'll explain later, but let's just say a friend of mine let me use the joint for a little while. Hey, buddy.
Clem.
Yeah. Appreciate you letting me do this.
Clem.
I don't want it messing with the relationship. I mean, I know now, you know?
Clem.
Exactly. I just want to keep this between you and me. Exactly. At least for the time being. Let's just call it even between us.
Clem.
I scratch your back, you scratch mine. By the way, I really like your place.
Clem.
Who does your decorating? Although other games offer similar situations, the one I feel like I appreciate most comes from Warframe. I know, you guys are gonna be like, here we go, Siege is gushing on Warframe story again, what's new? But this one is damn genius in my mind. It was in fact first mentioned to me during one of my streams, and since then, it's been like the thing I actually think I find most interesting about Warframe, story-wise that is. Are any of you familiar with the Cephalon Samodeus?
And then there is Jordis and Samodeus.
Samodeus. We never. That one is the ribbon mod.
And you might learn more
entity.
about that one. Maybe soon.
Yeah, that guy. I'll bet there are a pretty hefty cross-section of you that have no idea who I'm talking about, either because I butchered the name, or more likely because you've never come into contact with the term or the entity at all. Well, not that you know at least. I say that because any of us that have unveiled or cycled a Riven mod have in fact done just that. Interacted with the Cephalon himself, or itself, I guess. See for yourself. What makes him so special? Well, namely that he created the entire mod system. In fact, these Riven mods, and perhaps all mods in general, are fragments of this once and quite possibly still incredibly powerful Cephalon. Have you ever taken the time to ask why everything works as it does, or how it came to pass in the first place? Well, I have, and that brings me to the underlying purpose behind why I bring this up. It got me to thinking about quite a few things in Warframe and how the universe is starting to shape up. To quote a movie line that seems dangerously relevant right now, our very strength invites challenge. Challenge incites conflict, and conflict breeds catastrophe. And I think we're in for a lot of conflict and maybe some catastrophe as well, with perhaps the Lotus being the initial domino to fall. First though, let me go over a few things, starting with the Cephalons themselves. Now most of you know our cracked little compatriot Ortis, the cold and calculated Samaris, the musically inclined Suda, the infested Cephalon Jordis, if you've made it that far, and finally Sark, if you've somehow been able to deal with Conclave for any stretch of time. I couldn't, so I don't have any footage of that. Sorry. Cephalons are considered an artificial intelligence construct formed using light and logic. Essentially, they are animated databanks functioning solely on logic in order to attain whatever goal they are currently assigned to complete. The forms they choose are specific to each one, basically a digital representation of how they perceive themselves, usually taking the form of a geometric shape, most taken to mathematics, the language of the universe, if you will. Take, for instance, Ortis, whose cracked avatar represents the struggle between his current subservient Cephalon programming and the defiant warrior once known as Orden Karis, the person Ortis was before being punished and eventually trapped in this current form. Now, if knowledge is power, then the Cephalons could truly be thought of as gods, and one in particular has given the community deep access into the world of Warframe itself. His name is Cordelon, and he is, or at least was, the main archivist and data manager for the Lotus. More importantly, he's been able to offer a better perception of what exactly a Cephalon is and the parameters by which they function. Apparently each are bound to a particular function or purpose, and as such are not only designed to provide the necessary resources or information pertinent to said objective, they can actually simulate emotional inflection in order to manipulate or expedite a particular response from an outside vessel. In Ortis, appearing as a polite, caring, and encouraging individual, which would in fact be a logical choice in order to make a child or teenager more at ease or even malleable to a cause. That's right, guys. Ortis really is a machine that doesn't actually have any feelings toward us other than to complete the mission. That's actually the reason why I'm out here, by the way. I don't know how coming to this realization will affect how he and I communicate. And, you know, with everything that's happening with the Lotus recently, I didn't want any more change in the ship. What's important here, though, is the fact that we know Cephalons are essentially data, meaning they can't be deleted or destroyed unless every bit of them is erased. Furthermore, we know the Cephalons are built to achieve their purpose, whatever that is. This may include choosing to communicate or to potentially not communicate with whomever they deem necessary in order to complete their task. It's actually been speculated that we may have come into contact with Cephalons along the way that have chosen not to make themselves visible or decided to communicate with us because the interaction would have no bearing on their intended purpose. Now, if you can accept both of these ideas as truth, then consider that not only is Samodeus, the Riven Cephalon, a tangible entity, he's been on our ship watching us the entire time. And the idea of him being on every ship is not only plausible, but it's the only thing that really makes sense. Have you ever considered, as you're unveiling or cycling your Riven mods, that you're literally being watched at that moment? His silence has kept most of us from ever really noticing, but there he is, watching, judging you. I feel this is the case because I know Samodeus doesn't think too highly of us, or at least how we utilize his creations. Here, listen to this quote. "You are either extremely lucky or a thieving wench. You probably don't even appreciate what you have now. My life, my soul, my art. You will need to prove yourself before I reveal the beauty within this work. Until now, you've ignorantly used my creations for whatever suits you, but this is only a taste of what I've accomplished. For now, you can nest my beautiful creations inside your crude rifle like a sad Philistine, until you understand the depths of my unique creations. The first thing you must learn is each piece of my grand creation is malleable and unique. Each piece is both solitary and part of my fractured self. Do you understand? I fear I may have overwhelmed you already. To begin, I'll limit you to 1,003, but you'll quickly see the vast array of hidden possibilities, both rapturous and unfavorable. Now, leave me be, and return here when you can share what my art has shown you. And when you unveil or cycle a ribbon, that's exactly what you do. Show him what his art has bestowed upon you. So here's the thing. What does he want? What does a being of this type of power and influence desire from a universe it occupies? Remember the quote I mentioned earlier? Our strength, the Tenno strength, has truly been unleashed following the war within. And for a long time, nothing really in the star chart could stand up to that. However, challengers are starting to mount. The Terrorists were the first, who we well know are becoming stronger and obviously more durable. Ballas has now re-entered the playing field as well, one of the most powerful Orokin we know of. How has he survived this long, especially without being noticed? Can he even be killed? It's only a matter of time before the queen is resurrected, as her sister constantly drains more and more Kuva to complete the process. Every bit we don't get brings her one step closer to doing this, as that's what the Kuva does. And on top of all that, we still have the man on the wall, whose very presence seems to mimic that of, curiously enough, Samodeus, watching with those eyes that at first glance seem empty and yet looking deeper reveals what appears to be a pocket galaxy, the void itself. I can't say for certain, but what I can say is our strength seems to be inviting more and more entities of unspeakable power into the system, and conflict and perhaps catastrophe might not be far behind. These enemies aren't merely armies. They're more akin to forces of nature or even gods. There could in fact be a causality. That's all I'm trying to say. But what do you think? How do you view the state of the world lore-wise? Do you think you'll look at the Riven screen differently the next time you use it? What's really going to bake your noodle is the idea that he could in fact be communicating with us and we don't yet understand how to interpret it. I know that did for me at least. Maybe this grand creation Samodeus speaks of can be had only by those with ears to listen, possibly for a way to put the pieces back together. And whose ears will he deem worthy? Looks like we might find out fairly soon, and you know I'm excited about it. I think the one thing we can all agree on is that everything is really up in the air now story-wise, and some form of resolution just can't come quick enough one way or another. I'm starting to get a little anxious to find out what that is, and Mecha Space Mom is beginning to get on my nerves a little bit, won't lie. At any rate, I hope you enjoyed this little bit of speculation into the future of Warframe. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. Please take care of yourself, and I'll talk at you in the next one. Bye.